Good morning, everyone. My name is David Nash. I have the honour of being the Chief Executive of India's leading mental health organisation, the Banyan. I'd like to extend my thanks, first of all, to the Stella Maris Organising Committee for inviting me to participate in this event today. It's always a great privilege to be able to stand up on a platform and share the work that the Banyan does. And the TEDx platform particularly gives a great opportunity not just to speak to the audience in this hall, but to be able to reach out to a great many people out there. So thank you very much, Stella Maris, for inviting me to be able to do this. Okay, first thing that I'd like you to do is to imagine something. So I'd like you to close your eyes just for a moment and think about the words that come to your mind when I say to you, lunatic asylum. Okay. Thank you for closing your eyes. Thank you for taking part in that. You can open your eyes again now. Some of the words that came to my mind when I did this exercise should be up on the screen, or will come up on the screen, I'm hoping, at some point. Were things like incarceration, locking people up, throwing away the key, chaining people, restraint, dirt, squalor, degradation. Some of the emotions, fear, despair. India's mental health organisations, India's mental health system, as indeed most mental health systems across the world, come out of the Victorian era, 150 years back, when very little was known or understood about mental health, very little was known about how to treat mental health, and the only option appeared to be to lock people away. It's no wonder then that when two young girls, Vandana and Vaishnavi, 22, just students, dashed into a busy main road in Chennai to rescue a deranged, destitute young woman, that the last place on earth they wanted us to be put is into a lunatic asylum. And it's because they cared so deeply about the outcome for Chellamal and for the hundreds of others that we've rescued ever since, that they started what can only be described as a crusade. A crusade to demonstrate that things can be different. They don't have to be this way. A crusade that launched the Banyan. Now, the Banyan is 18 years old today. We've been operating in and around the city for a long period of time. And underpinning everything we've done in the past, through all of our history and going into the future, is a core belief that those people coming into the organisation can recover and can leave. Not only can they leave, but they can take a productive part in the future society. It is because we introduce a humane and caring approach to treatment that we speed up that recovery and provide the women that we deal with the tools that they need in order to be able to interact at a sensible level with society. In short, what we offer is hope. And what I'd like to do today is talk through that kind of process to show you what that hope is over the course of the next 10-15 minutes or so. By looking at our transit care centre, we'll take a look at our transit care centre and how it works, and hopefully illustrate for you exactly where we go. So what is this thing that I'm talking about? A Dakelam is what we call it, our transit care centre. It starts with rescue. Back when the organisation first started, when the Banyan was first born, our rescue teams used to go out day and night, proactively looking on the streets, scouring them for women who were in need of the services that we could offer. These days, thanks to growing reputation, thanks to people's understanding of what we do as an organisation, we no longer have to scour the streets looking for people. Now we receive phone calls from the general public, phone calls from other civil society organisations, phone calls from the police, advising us when somebody is in trouble and needs our help. When we receive those calls, the first thing we do is send out our dispatch team. Our social workers go to the spot, they find the person involved, and theirs is actually a really tricky job. Because what they need to do is they need to find a way of connecting with somebody who's lost their connection to the real world. They need to somehow build up rapport, build up trust, so that the woman feels safe to come with us to receive help. Really tricky job, and something which the caring nature of the people we involve is an absolute essential requirement. Once they come into the organisation, the first thing we then do is look at their physical health needs. Women on the streets are a particularly vulnerable group of people, and because of that vulnerability, many of our residents have come to us presenting not only signs of neglect, but often signs of physical and sexual abuse. By dealing with the body through a dedicated team of nurses, an on-site doctor, and tie-ups with local hospitals, we're able to help the process of restoration and be able to then deal with the issues that face the mind. Mental illness is a really tricky subject to get your head around. It's so diverse. Each individual that presents to us presents a very, very unique way of behaviour. 2, 3 people can be diagnosed with the same thing, but their actual symptoms, the way in which it affects them, will be as individual as they are. So our team has to spend time understanding what it means for the specific individual involved, taking a look at how we can get to that particular individual, what kind of care that particular individual actually requires. Now that care can take many numbers of forms. It could be that it's medicinal. Some mental illnesses respond exceptionally well to medicines. Schizophrenia, for example, has a well-known profile, is easy to be able to diagnose and therefore to be able to start a treatment pattern with. Some illnesses don't respond to medication at all, and in fact some illnesses don't even require any medication at all. And it's understanding where and when to use it that's so important. Coupled with that, we then have a whole series of psychosocial interventions, other kinds of interventions that are aimed at our core belief. Remember, our core belief is that people will leave our organisation and they will be in a position where they can productively contribute to society. So what we need to do is find the tools that they need to be able to manage their situation. Many mental illnesses aren't cured as such, they're only manageable. So what we have to do is find those tools, be able to provide that level of support for the individual. Now those psychosocial interventions can come in many forms. They could be individual counselling sessions, it could be group therapy, it could be learning how to manage anger or learning how to manage stress. It could be very, very diverse, using creativity tools. One of the key things that we do is to take a look at how we can make people productive and through our vocational training work. Now the vocational training work that we offer covers many, many different kinds of vocational training, and it depends upon both the interest of the individual and their aptitude, what kind of response we have for them. But productivity here is the key. And there's 2 good reasons why we have to focus on whether somebody can be productive. One is a whole self-worth, self-image thing. If you've been in a position where you've been affected by mental health problems, then your own self-image is very, very downgraded. You feel you can't do anything. If we can find a way of making somebody productive, helping them to be able to contribute, that raises their self-image, raises their self-confidence, and makes it much more likely that they're able to sustain their well-being. On the other hand, we're trying to help them reintegrate back into society. Now, the last time society saw many of these women was when they were very, very dependent, when their illnesses made them unproductive, and in fact, where their illnesses made them a drain on resources rather than a contributor. So part of our work to help gain acceptance for women when they come back into their families or into wider communities is to look at ways in which they can contribute to those communities. So vocational training, vocational work is a really, really important part of the whole rehabilitation process that we look at. Vocational work can cover many different things. It can be from as simple as encouraging people to use their skills at keeping a house, being able to cook and clean and maintain a home. It could be using their creative skills, It could be that they need specific training to go into employment. For example, some of our women have got training in beauty parlours and now work in beauty parlours independently. Some get computer training to be able to get access to IT kind of jobs. All of this leads us to being able to go home, ultimately. And what I'd like to do is almost finish by sharing a couple of stories with you. The first one is about somebody called Muthulakshmi. Now, Muthulakshmi was found wandering on the beach, Marina Beach here in Chennai, by an organisation that was involved in the environment. They referred Muthulakshmi to us. We picked her up and discovered that she had some form of learning difficulties, but more clearly, a clear case of psychosis. Now, the way in which her psychosis worked allowed her to be fairly compliant, so she was able to work and able to contribute almost from day one. We identified what her illness was, put her on a treatment plan, had all kinds of interactions going on with her. From day one, she was telling us she wanted to go home. But from day one, she had no memory of where home was. And mental illness often robs people of that key link with their back to their own communities. As her recovery progressed, as she was able to contribute and use her housekeeping and cooking skills within the organisation, so she was able to recall that she had a brother. She had a brother who lived in the south of the state, and we were able to contact him, track him down, and work with him on an acceptance plan. Taking somebody home is as much about working with the family as it is about working with the individual concerned. The day came when she went home. She was very excited to be going home. It was about a 4-hour trip to actually reach her brother's place. About an hour out, she started to get really, really nervous and started to tell us, actually, I want to go back to the Banyan. I want to go back to Chennai. Put yourself in this position. For about a year, she'd been able to rely entirely upon the love and care she was receiving within the Banyan, something which she hadn't known for many years prior to that. And we were taking her to a situation which was actually a real leap of faith, a jump into the dark. I think I'd be scared if I was put into that situation too. Our social workers did work very hard with her, persuaded her to give it a try, but the key thing here is that we put in place the reassurance that we would be her support mechanism. If things went wrong, she could always return to us and we could always help her back through that process. And that's one of the key learnings for us about the way in which rehabilitation has to happen. You need a support mechanism. Now, whether that's us providing this unconditional support, or whether that's a local family, or even the wider community. I'm pleased to say we were able to leave Muthulakshmi with her brother. She is able to be contributing to his household in terms of keeping the household and cooking and working with him. And a year later, thanks to understanding it with follow-up, she's well, she's with her brother, and she's happy. So it's a real success story, and one that we're able to be proud of. My second example is a similar kind of story in the sense of it's a going home story, but it's not going home to a family. Debbie came to us. She was found hallucinating in a temple. The temple authorities referred her. And when she came in, it was obvious almost from day one that she suffered from schizophrenia. Now, schizophrenia has a very well-defined outcome. It's a very well-defined process to deal with schizophrenia. So she was put on meds very quickly, and her recovery started to take place very, very quickly. As time progressed, again, she's robbed of her memory at this point. As time progressed, she showed a real aptitude for embroidery and tailoring. And as a result, we started working with her in our tailoring unit, making clothes, making bags, and paying her a small amount of money in which to do that. So she started to get that feeling that she was contributing, that sense of self-worth that we needed. All of that helped in her recovery and helped her to discover the town, or village rather, from where she came. And it just happened that that village was only 3 or 4 kilometres away from the outreach work we were doing just south of the city. So our staff were going backwards and forwards past this village almost every day. Sent down some social workers, did some detective work, found out about her background. It turns out that her husband had been an abusive alcoholic. She had had 2 daughters one of which was snatched from her when she was only 15 days old and given away to some distant relative far away. To this day, we still don't know where that daughter has ended up. The other daughter, when Debbie disappeared, the other daughter, the father, pushed into an orphanage claiming that she had no parents. So this was a nice man we're dealing with here. It turns out the husband has actually passed away, so he's no longer in the picture. When Debbie learnt about her two daughters, the one thing that it really triggered was a determination, absolute determination within her to get her daughters back. So she started looking for ways in which she could increase her earnings to become more independent so she could look after her daughters when they came back to her. She worked very hard. We put her into an export company working with manufacturing of garments, which increased her earnings. She started interacting more and more with the community that she was part of, and they, to their credit, rallied around her and tried to find ways in which they could support her. Again, some smart detective work from our social workers uncovered the particular orphanage the daughter had got into, and we've been able to reconcile mother and daughter again and bring them back together, which is a fantastic outcome. More importantly, though, the way the community has reacted to this. The community, recognising that she's a single parent on her own and only earning a small amount of money relatively, has helped her out with school fees, has helped her out with uniforms, has helped to find her accommodation, and has linked her up with local self-help groups to provide local support. It's almost like having a wide, extended family. Now, Debbie goes through ups and downs. It's the kind of thing that the illness does provide. In fact, who amongst us doesn't have up days and down days? But she's able to cope. It's interesting that her focus has now shifted. She wants to find her other daughter. And knowing her determination, I have no doubt that she will. The interesting thing about the whole of this process for me is that the Banyan has demonstrated that mental institutions don't have to be places of despair. They can be places of hope, provided that they're infused with love and care, provided that the aim is to get people out of them, not keep people in them, provided that you treat the person holistically, looking at their whole situation, not just trying to focus medicinally on the illness, and provided that unconditional support for as long as it is needed is facilitated somewhere, then hope is always possible. When you look across India's mental institutions, it's difficult to see that hope. And that's why over the last 2 or 3 years, the Banyan's focus has been on shifting away from just doing our little bit, just having one small beacon, to trying to work with other organisations to spread that awareness, to spread that practice. We currently have partners in Assam, in Karnataka, and in Tamil Nadu that are practicing the same kind of models. And we have links into the Tamil Nadu state government to try to work with the local Institute of Mental Health, to spread that light, to spread that hope, to try to bring light and hope to a world which is dominated by darkness, fear and despair. I'd like to leave you with one last thing, and this is where I do need the next slide up if I can. So if you can put the next one after this one. Yeah, great. I don't know who this quote is attributed to, sadly, but I really like the way in which it's written. With acute psychosis, it says, recovery is 70% medication and 30% TLC, because there is no medicine like hope, no incentive so great, and no tonic as powerful as an expectation of something better tomorrow. Thank you very much.